SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
When banking starts to feel less personal, you know where to find us. Community Bank. Deep roots, local people, personal banking. Visit communitybank.net. Member FDIC.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man, way past 21. I want you to believe me, baby.
Hey, good morning. Welcome in. This is Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi. Thanks for joining us Thursday morning. Today is the 4th of June, 2026. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. Glad to have you along. Reminder that the C Spire text line is open, 601-879-4395, 601-879-4395. The One Plan from C Spire is here. Fiber home internet and wireless, only $99 a month for new and current C Spire customers. One plan, one place, one experience, zero compromise. Get started now at cspire.com/oneplan. Mornings is presented by Community Bank. Bank local, bank community. Good morning, Lance.
Good morning, RC. How's it going today?
Great, brother.
Good.
Great.
Feeling good about yourself, huh? At the
Yeah.
house. You got anything planned for the weekend, or you got to do a lot of yard work and hanging around?
You nailed it.
Yeah.
I was kind of looking around the yard yesterday afternoon. I mowed as soon as I got home yesterday, day before yesterday. But I didn't really have time to weed eat and edge and blow everything off. And then I'm like, ooh, there are weeds that need to be pulled in flower beds. Hedges need to be trimmed. I'm like, that's just going to have to wait a day or two. Yeah. So it may be a little bit at a time over the course of the next couple of few days. And that'll be okay.
Yeah, man, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you don't have to get in a hurry for it.
No.
It's your schedule, you know?
Yeah, I just don't like it when it's not as tidy as I want it to look.
Yeah, you want it done now.
Mm-hmm.
So you can sit back and enjoy it. The weekend in front of you.
That's right. Probably watch a lot of baseball this weekend.
Yes, sir. It's going to be a perfect weekend for it.
Throw something on the grill.
What do you have in mind? You're a pork man, or do you have a leftover turkey that you?
No, I don't have a leftover turkey.
You cooked like 5 of them for Thanksgiving. So.
Yeah, that was 7 months ago.
I know, but still, they freeze well.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Ball will last.
Well, I don't know. We'll have to do burgers or throw some steaks on, or we'll figure it out.
Burgers. Love a burger.
No doubt. It looks like, for the most part, it is going to be a pretty good weekend. It's going to be a fabulous Thursday across the state today. Tupelo, 84 degrees for you. A low tonight of about 60. Mostly cloudy to partly cloudy. It's going to be dry. Winds out of the east and southeast at 5 to 9 miles per hour. Really a comfortable day in Tupelo for early June. Might be a good day on the golf course if you are in northeast Mississippi. Canton, central part of the state, 85 for your high, 63 for the overnight low tonight. Sunny to a few clouds, a low chance of precipitation. Light winds, pleasant day, a lot of good sun. Might be a good day for a fishing hole in central Mississippi.
It's been hot enough not to enjoy that, but the last few days, or today, yesterday, tomorrow's supposed to be nice.
Gonna be nice. And look, man, if it gets down into the mid-60s in the evening, you want to talk about a good night to sit out on the back porch, on the patio, on the front porch, rocking chair. Not bad. Not bad at all. Waynesboro, 84 for your high today. 62 for the overnight low. Winds out of the east at 5 to 8 miles per hour. Picayune, same for you. Low mid-80s, mid-60s for the overnight. About a 20% chance of rain. Wind's going to be a little heavier that far south than they are in other parts of the state. Message comes in, C Spire text line. Richard, don't you have a teenager at home who can put his hands or grip a weed eater with his hands? I think is what you said. Yes. And he is generally helpful, especially when asked.
I think that's the way they are today. That's the way my nephew is. I mean, he'll do anything you want him to do. You just kind of have to ask him to do it, or he'll have 8 other things going on.
Yeah. The truth of the matter is, I really like working in the yard. That's kind of my thing. Now, there are times where I wouldn't mind having a little bit of help. And he does, like I said, when I ask. Yes, it is time for him to really learn the business end of a weed eater. That's just a life skill you need. You don't just need to be able to, I can crank a weed eater. Or, I can go weed eater. You need to be efficient and proficient. And not everybody is. Like you got to know when to bump and when to let it go. You can feel that string. You don't even have to. You can hear it. You know exactly how far that you want that head from the brick along the edge of the sidewalk, so you're not needlessly wasting string. And there is only one way to do that, Lance. There's only one way.
Tell me. I always love learning about.
No, you can't tell anybody.
Oh, okay.
You got to do it.
Learn it. Yeah. I thought you had like a secret or something.
No, there is no secret. Hours and hours and hours.
You have the feel for it.
That's all there is to it.
Do you have any of those attachments for the weed eater that you see? You know, this one won't break and that. I've never found anything that, works as well as what you've seen on the on these commercials you'll see. But
no, I've tried the little 3 plastic.
Yeah, I use
the head on there that's got the whatever, and I haven't. I mean, you got to get good string. I get that string that's got it's wound as opposed to just the round string.
I got one that's it's multicolored. It seems to have a little bit more to it.
Yeah. The stout stuff.
I still have to stop and do it too often though. Re-spool it.
And I've used the square string before too. It's just so hard to wrap.
It is
hard on your hands, and it's just the titanium lace twine stuff or twisted line's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm using. Yeah, stuff works good, man. I mean, it'll get a little brittle in the heat, I think, but I really there's no perfect fit, right? You just go with what you can go with, and
the fact is, it's gonna eat itself up a little bit, and you just
You've been cutting and doing your whole life, right? I mean, as a business, as a side, and you say that you enjoy yard work. Is there a part of it that you enjoy more than any, or do you like getting on the zero turn and just going?
It's just the satisfaction of how it looks when you're done.
Okay. I love the zero turn. I mean, I could.
Oh, I do. Yeah, I
ride
do too.
That thing all day, man.
Yeah, I do. The one thing the thing that I hate. And probably I judge lawn care professionals if I'm driving by. And if I see grass piled up, like windrows blown out there, I'm like, I'd fire you today. If you're not coming often enough to keep it and cutting it at a height where grass doesn't pile up, and you don't blow that off my yard or off that yard, whether it is with the lawnmower, double cutting it, blowing it all in one direction, or coming back with the blower and hand blowing it, you are a waste of time.
I love I'm one of those that all the grass that you blow up and all the stuff. I have such a pet peeve of leaving it, if it just people that blow it into the road and then the cars come by and blow it back all. Yeah, I hate that, but I'll blow it in a pile, and always that's one thing that it's not my favorite, but it is therapeutic to run the blower.
Yeah,
sit there and just wind it out.
Yeah.
Get a lot accomplished. But I'm like you. I like it to look clean and finished. I don't want to leave it and go, okay, I'll finish this tomorrow.
Yeah. I had to do that with the grass that needed to be blown night before last. I couldn't get my blower to crank.
That's what you were saying.
Man.
It was mad at you. You hadn't used it.
Yeah, I got to take it in this morning. So, and inevitably we've got the, hey, you need to try the electric equipment. I'm glad that works for lots and lots and lots of people. And look, I may do it. I may get an electric weed eater at some point. Just roll with it. It's not really my thing.
You like the wee?
Yeah, I do. And maybe I'll try it one day and I'll be completely convinced and be like, what have I been doing all this time? But I have not gotten there yet. We got birthdays, we got this day in history, we've got news headlines, your morning sports update, lotteries, guests this morning, so much to get to. Just kind of easing in with a cup of coffee on this Thursday morning. MRC on SuperTalk Mississippi, presented by Community Bank.
Good morning from the...
All right, now to the important stuff.
Your VIP pass to hear what the most influential Mississippians are talking about.
This is very important.
Huge news. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
When they play their music, that hard rock music, they like it with a lot of flash, but it's still that same old backbeat rhythm that really, really kicks them in the... They say the hard rock and roll is the beat, and from what I've seen, I believe them.
Welcome back, mornings on Super Talk Mississippi. Glad to have you along for the ride. Birthdays today. King George III was born on this day in 1738, King of Britain and Ireland during the American Revolutionary War. He is famous or infamous for, losing all of the American colonies on his watch.
Yeah, that's you want to be remembered for that if you're the King of England, your prized possession.
Favorite song from Hamilton. You'll be back soon. The King George character is so good in that. So good.
They parody him pretty well.
Yeah, they do. They do. It's outstanding. Just because I want to say this name, I don't really, whatever for Finland. But Carl Gustaf Emil Mannerheim was born on this day in 1867. He was a Finnish military leader and the sixth president of Finland. Do you go by Gustav if your name is?
Yeah, Carl sounds too normal.
Yeah, it really does.
Gustav, yeah.
Really does. Russell Brand was born on this day in 1975. The British comedian, actor, and author starred in films like Forgetting Sarah Marshall and Get Him to the Greek, and has become kind of a libertarian. Is that the route you would go for Russell Brand?
I would guess. He's all over the place at times. I try to watch as much, these guys as I can, far left, far right. But yeah, he's kind of hard to pin down at times.
He seems to generally be common sense-ish, but with strong opinions. Angelina Jolie, born on this day in 1975, the Oscar-winning actress, filmmaker, and humanitarian. Is really known for her roles in Lara Croft and Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Maleficent.
I remember her for wearing a vial of blood around her neck of her husband. I think they were like early investors in Theranos, They needed to carry that around at all times just in case they needed a drop.
Just in case.
Yeah.
781 BC, the oldest let's try that again. The oldest known recorded solar eclipse in Chinese history. Roquefort cheese is said to have been created in a cave near Roquefort, France. Today in 1070.
Cave cheese. I've never had that before.
Yeah. You didn't have to refrigerate it, just keep it in the cave.
It's ready to go.
1896, Henry Ford completed and drove his first vehicle, the quadricycle, through the streets of Detroit.
I got a follow-up for you when you get to the 1930s era.
Okay. President Woodrow Wilson signed the Selective Service Act on this day, leading to the draft for World War I in 1917. Women got the right to vote on this day in 1919 as Congress approved the 19th Amendment. What you got?
Well, on this day in 1937, you had the debut of one very important asset for you when you go shopping called the shopping cart at a Humpty Dumpty and grocery store in Oklahoma. And about 1 minute later, one of those vehicles that Henry Ford invented was now dinged up in the parking lot.
Humpty Dumpty grocery store, huh?
That's a Humpty Dumpty invented that, I guess. Or either it was invented and they were the first buyer of it. You know, they go, yeah, we'll take 100 of those. Not sure if they invented it or not, but it is today, on this day in 1937, it was introduced.
Good call. Yeah. So we had Humpty Dumptys and Piggly Wigglies for grocery stores. That's beautiful.
That's right.
Beautiful. 1944, Navy forces captured the German submarine U-505 off the coast of Africa. It was the first enemy vessel captured on the high seas by the United States since 1815.
Like Barbary pirate time, right?
Yeah. Just some of what is happening on this day in history. Sad news coming out last night. Mississippi Republican lawmaker Price Wallace passed away at the age of 64. Speaker of the House Jason White on X last night wrote, "It is with heavy hearts that we pause to reflect on the passing of our friend and colleague in the Mississippi House of Representatives, State Representative Price Wallace. He represented District 77, including parts of Rankin and Simpson counties, has since 2018 chair of the House Constitution Committee, a position that he used to construct and pass several measures in the House to restore Mississippi's ballot initiative process after it was stripped by the state Supreme Court back in 2021. Although Wallace's legislation to allow residents to again propose law changes never made it through the Senate, Jason White said that he should be remembered in his part for his efforts to restore that process, saying he believed in restoring the constitutional right for Mississippians to have a fair and accessible means of influencing state policy. Price Wallace will also be remembered for that cowboy hat, which he sported in his official legislative photo and often inside the Capitol building, and his roles in the state's agricultural industry. He was a poultry farmer by trade and served on the House Ag Committee. Representative Weiss is survived by his wife Cindy, their children and grandchildren. In addition to being a legislator and farmer, he was an election commissioner for Simpson County and a board member at the Church of Mendenhall. Our condolences to the friends and family of Representative Price Wallace. A pair of former Mississippi school superintendents will spend time in prison for their involvement in embezzling nearly $400,000 in federal funding. So this would be the sentencing portion of a story that we've updated for you periodically over the last couple of years. Former Clarksdale Municipal School District Superintendent Earl Nelson was sentenced to 14 months in prison and he is ordered to serve 3 years of supervised release. And he needs to pay $143,300 in restitution. Ex-Hollandale School District Superintendent Mario Willis was sentenced to 20 months behind bars. He's ordered to serve 3 years of supervised release and needs to pay $393,300. Nelson and Willis, according to court documents, used their positions to enter into inflated consulting contracts and generate payments for services that were never provided. The two worked alongside Monakia Smith Taylor in the conspiracy. She previously has been sentenced to 16 months in federal prison, 3-year supervised release, and needs to pay $250,000 in restitution.
Man, those kids didn't need an education. Those folks needed that money. Come on.
Swindlers.
Goodness.
Off the backs of boys and girls in school districts that doing the best they can with what they got.
That's right.
We hope. Multiple people were injured in a crash involving a school bus carrying the Morton High School girls basketball team. The Scott County School District reported that the incident happened Tuesday afternoon while the group was returning from an unspecified team activity. Details remain slim in the incident. Officials did confirm that multiple students and staffers were transported to medical care for precautionary evaluation. Statement from the school: thanks to first responders, law enforcement officers, medical personnel. Especially proud of our students, coaches, bus driver, and the staff members for the calm and responsible manner in which they responded during a difficult situation. Scant details on that story right now, but it sounds like everybody ultimately is okay. A welfare check gone wrong in Simpson County led to a juvenile suspect and a law enforcement officer being shot and 2 other people being discovered dead yesterday. Simpson County deputies responded to a residence on Blair Road in Mendenhall. Upon arrival, authorities report that a burglary was in progress. Juvenile is said to have opened fire at police. Bad idea. Striking a deputy in the process. Then barricaded himself in the house. Well, it took a minute, but the officers later deployed tear gas. All of a sudden, fellow wants to get out of the house, and it's a foot race. And then he decides to shoot, and they shoot back. He was taken into custody and transported to a nearby hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. 1 deputy struck by gunfire received non-life-threatening injuries. Upon entry of the residence, police then found 2 individuals dead. Their identities have not yet been released. No charges have been filed. MBI now involved, as will the Mississippi Attorney General's office be in the near future. Those are your news headlines. We're back with you after this. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
From the C.
Wake up, get up, and start your day right with Mornings with Richard Cross here on Super Talk, Mississippi.
This is Mornings on Super Talk Mississippi. Thanks for joining us alongside the one and only Lance Tolbert. I'm Richard. Appreciate you being along for the ride. Hey, later this afternoon on today's episode of In the Mississippi Minute with Steve Azar, you'll hear an interview with legendary heavy metal drummer Shawn Drover. You can listen to In a Mississippi Minute with Steve Azar today at 1 o'clock. Right here on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Heavy metal drummer. That dude was busy in his time. You ever watch those guys? Man, there's something else.
They get after it.
They do.
They get after it. Just a day away from Super Regional play beginning. If you are trying to plan accordingly, at 11 o'clock tomorrow, folks in West Virginia taking a day off work. Cal Poly is at West Virginia. First pitch, 11 o'clock Central Time in Morgantown. Chapel Hill Super Regional. First pitch, 2 o'clock Central, Southern California and North Carolina. I saw somebody say earlier this week, hey, you want to get a South Carolina fan all up in their feelings? tell them that USC and Carolina are playing this weekend. They have a bit of an identity crisis with the name. They like to call themselves Carolina, and everybody's like, nope, that's North Carolina. They've kind of always been Carolina. You don't get to be a Johnny-come-lately Carolina. And then when they try to go, well, fine, USC, they're like, nope, that's the University of Southern California. What's a Gamecock going to do? Little Rock and Troy get started at 4 o'clock from Troy, Alabama. Ole Miss and Auburn, 7 o'clock tomorrow night from the Plains. Good stuff.
That's going to be a busy weekend.
Yeah, and then Saturday is the day that you've got 8 games. 10 o'clock, Mississippi State and Georgia. 11 o'clock, West Virginia and Cal Poly. 1 o'clock, North Carolina and Southern Cal. 2 o'clock, Troy and Little Rock. 4 o'clock, Ole Miss and Auburn. 5 o'clock, Oklahoma, Kansas. 7, Oregon, Texas. And 8, St. John's and Alabama. You'll have 1, 2... You could potentially have 3 regionals completed. Maybe you could have 4 regionals completed before St. John's and Alabama throw a pitch. Super regionals.
Do you see a Cinderella? I mean, obviously you're going to be granted the Little Rock, Troy. You got St. John's over there, and then Cal Poly. So the 4 out of the group, guys that are not normally involved in it, but as far as getting to the World Series, do you see either of the two, like St. John's or Cal Poly, making it? Because obviously Little Rock or Troy's going to make it in.
I think, and St. John's really swung it against Florida State.
Didn't they? I mean, I thought the same thing.
Really swung it. I think everybody is just kind of handed that Cal Poly West Virginia series to West Virginia. Mm-hmm. I don't think Cal Poly is going to roll in there intimidated. But remember, Cal Poly, they never played UCLA in that regional out in California. They just kind of cruised through and let everybody else do the work.
That's the best way to do it. Let somebody else do the heavy lifting. You come in.
From a seeding standpoint, probably a prisoner of the moment here. I think SC is going to give North Carolina all it wants.
Well, you watched them, and
I did.
You know they can hit, too. That SC team was just breaking the lumber out all weekend.
The guy that SC is going to throw on Friday, tomorrow afternoon, Mason Edwards, 164 strikeouts on the year.
Man.
Leads the country, and he was not very good last week. Heat kind of got to him a little bit. I said, I kind of walked away from that thinking, I've seen maybe a dozen guys in the SEC that were more impressive than that on a Friday or a Saturday.
In general, not just this year?
No, this year.
This year, yeah.
This year. And that's not a shot. I don't think he was at his best. Mm-hmm. And, man, you don't punch out 160 in a year if you're not pretty darn good.
You got to have some electric stuff to do that. You're not just thumbing it up there
and
either.
Getting deep. And, somebody said, who plays today at 11? Walt, nobody plays today at 11. That's tomorrow at 11 when it gets going. So,
yeah, it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Nothing today.
Right.
Yes, sir.
That is correct. And all the Monday games are if necessary.
And didn't that USC team, Southern Cal, obviously, they were hot most of the season, seemed to kind of tail off just a little at the back end.
Well,
lost a little of their ranking, and then, then they just beat up.
They started the year 19-0, best start in school history, and then they got into conference play, and, you lose some games. Probably the reason they didn't host, because they had the 9th best RPI in the country.
Yeah.
They were 1-11 against quad 1 teams. Gotcha. So against the good teams that they played on their schedule, they lost until this past weekend.
That's when it matters, right?
That's when it matters. Well, I finally tuned in for about 10 minutes, maybe 20. Watched most of the third quarter and part of the fourth quarter. Game 1 of the NBA Finals last night, they finally drew me in.
Finally. It took a bit, but
yeah,
they got you.
I skipped out on 82 in the regular season and the first 3 rounds of the playoffs. But now we're to the finals. Kind of worth checking in on. It's all this buzz about with Wemby and
Dude's so
the Knicks.
tall, man.
And yeah, he is.
Good Lord.
He is. Jalen Brunson had a big night last night. He went for 30. Didn't shoot a very good percentage, but he went for 30. Outscored Victor Wembanyama, who had 26 in the game. San Antonio led at the end of the first quarter. They led at halftime. Knicks knotted it up at the end of 3 and then outscored the Spurs by 10 in the fourth quarter en route to a 105-95 win, and the Knicks just keep rolling.
Yeah, you're a Knicks man in this one, right? I mean, you're going with the Knicks.
I am.
Yeah.
They've just been playing, man.
Yeah,
playing.
100.
I have somewhere in the neighborhood of 1 to 3% interest in ever attending an NBA Finals game.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 0.2 to.
I went to a Wizards. Yeah, I went to like a Wizards game a long time ago.
Yeah.
It was cool. I mean,
I mean, I've been to some NBA games. It's fine. I just not on my. I'd love to be in the Garden on Saturday.
Yeah, that would be cool.
That place is going to be rocking.
Yeah,
rocking. So they jump back to it tomorrow night, I think. And then you've got the Stanley Cup playoffs that continue tonight. Game 2 between Vegas and Carolina. Vegas won last night. I think that was an entertaining game. At least it was based on what I read. C Spire text line for you is open at 601-879-4395, 601-879-4395.
Hey, I got a good one for you here.
Tell it.
Yeah, $821 gets you in the door to where you want to go, to the Garden. What do you think it takes to get in the door to on Monday night? I don't know why it's so much more expensive.
El Presidente is going to be there.
I'm kidding, yeah.
Oh.
I was joking with that, yeah. I have no idea why. It's $7,000 a ticket, but
wow,
that's what it costs.
But they hate him.
Yeah, people don't love the president, do they?
No.
Especially in New York. No. Goodness, $7,000. Price of admittance to see the Prez at a basketball game.
Hey, Jose. The mental gymnastics and the brain pretzel that the left is going to fold itself into when the crowd at MSG goes nuts for Donald Trump on Monday night is going to be a beautiful, beautiful thing to watch.
There may be some heads pop, you never be like a bunch of balloons. Just
ever notice how some places still know your name? At Community Bank, that's how banking works. We're a bank that knows community because we live here. And when you walk in, you're more than an account number. No matter what your banking needs are, here you will talk to real people who care about your goals. Community Bank, a local bank built on relationships. Stop by your neighborhood location or learn more at communitybank.net. Mornings is presented by Community Bank. We've got your Mississippi Lottery update coming up in just a couple of minutes. We're back with you after this.
You're waking up to what's happening. Mornings with Richard Cross. Right now on Super Talk, Mississippi.
with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm and SuperTalk TV. Thanks for joining us. Time for your Mississippi Lottery update online at mslottery.com. mslottery.com, and be sure to download the Mississippi Lottery app. Today is Thursday, so we got to wait a day for our next big jackpot drawing. The Friday night Mega Millions drawing is for $368 million. The estimated cash value, $163,600,000. Powerball on Saturday night is up to $212 million. $94.7 million, the cash value on that. Mississippi Lottery is shifting into high gear this June with the launch of its newest bonus promotion, NASCAR Powerball, the Chase to $1 million. Promotion gives Mississippi Lottery players the chance to compete for cash prizes, with one lucky player entered into the national promotion for a chance to win a $1 million grand prize during NASCAR Championship weekend at Homestead Miami Speedway. All you have to do is enter any non-winning $2 Power Play Blitz ticket into Second Chance. Get in the fast lane and get your ticket today. You can check winning numbers to see if your ticket is a winner by downloading the Mississippi Lottery official app. Update brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery. Lance, I did an interesting Google search.
Uh-oh, better clear your history.
No, nothing shady.
I'm kidding with you.
You know, you always hear the stories about the lottery winners who went bankrupt.
Oh, yeah.
Like they just couldn't handle it. I typed this as has anyone turned a lottery jackpot into a massive fortune?
Yeah, has anybody done that, like Fortune 500 company after they won the lottery?
I don't know if it's that dramatic, but in 2005, Brad Duke won a $220 million Powerball jackpot. Instead of retiring mindlessly, he explicitly stated a goal to grow his net worth to $1 billion. He immediately assembled a team of trusted financial advisors and took a highly structured, business-minded path. He placed $45 million into completely safe municipal bonds to guarantee ongoing stability.
And tax-free income.
He poured $35 million into higher yield investments, including real estate, oil, and gas. He invested $1.3 million to launch a family foundation trust and expanded a commercial fitness and cycling business. And so he is on the way. And you might say, well, hold on now, that's only like $81 million. Well, yeah, it was a $220 million jackpot, which means he got about 100 and then paid taxes on it. So, you know, it kind of dwindles down a little. Although in 2005, a $220 million jackpot would have gotten like 65 or 70% of that.
At least he was thinking of the future, though. He wasn't like, I'm going to go blow this on yachts and trips.
Sure.
Like I would.
Well, like when I play with the numbers on it, like I don't know, it's just become a pastime. Especially when that thing gets big. Like, what would you do with this? And I'm like, how can you double it? Mm-hmm. And I'm not talking about red or black. It's like, you know, you walk away after tax with $300 million. What would you do with it? I'm like, well, foundation to support, and the tithe charity piece of it would run through the foundation because there are tax benefits for that. But that would be the first thing.
I mean, you wouldn't put a bunch of ticks in a box and start dropping them on farms or anything. You wouldn't be a diabolical millionaire.
No.
Just making sure. And
then some play stuff, you know, pay off some bills and have some money to play and do some things that we want to do. And some family gifts. And then after that, let that money go to work.
Yeah, there was
pay yourself a little salary, a little monthly. Pay yourself a big monthly salary. And then let that stuff just start doubling.
one of the interesting things, I was watching something the other day. It was a documentary on all the super robber barons and billionaires of that era, the 100 millionaires, and how many generations did it take to basically burn through the money. And it's usually like three, about the third generation into the fourth, those monies have been spent, So I always found that interesting, too. How long does it last?
There are a few fortunes that have endured.
Sure, yeah. And the bulk haven't, though. That's the thing. Yeah. Most of those kids and grandkids are like, we want the money, but we don't want to work too hard for it.
Yeah. I was having a conversation with somebody not too terribly long ago who was relaying a conversation that they had with somebody else of pretty good means. And the guy was talking about, I can't get my son to work. Really? What's the deal? Well, bought he and his wife a house, and I bought them new cars. And well,
all right, there we go.
Now, what do you think the problem might be? Could there be a motivation issue? Somebody told me a long time ago, debt will motivate a young man to get out of bed every morning.
It sure will.
Whew.
Yes, sir.
7 o'clock hour on the way. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Waking up Mississippi. From South Haven to Scuba, it's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
A message for you, Lance. The balloon comment and sound effects were hilarious.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Yes.
I've been working on my impersonations a lot lately, honestly.
Well done.
Thank you.
Well done. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. Thank you for joining us, and appreciate you being along for the ride. Mornings is presented by Community Bank. When it comes to money, trust isn't automatic. It's earned. That's why Community Bank does things the old-fashioned way. When you come to us, we take the time to listen to you and discuss questions that you may have. Whether you're saving, spending, or planning ahead, you'll find bankers who know the community because they're part of it. Community Bank, banking designed with you in mind. Visit us in person or online at communitybank.net. C Spire text line is open to you at 601-879-4395, 601-879-4395. Thomas wants to know if I'm partaking in the Hunter Biden tweets.
It's been epic lately.
I have seen a few of them retweeted. They are worth a chuckle. I did see someone go, tell me that you don't know someone who is a drug addict. I was like, what does this mean? Because anybody that's ever been to an AA meeting has seen the guy who is there because he has to be and is cracking one-liners left and right. Interesting insight.
Yeah, it's this is going to be something. Does it just get more bizarre each and every day, Richard? I mean,
and the more that we hear from Jill in her interview and her book, Dr. Jill Biden.
Yeah, she didn't know anything was up, but he was having a stroke.
Yeah, she, the cover-up and wishing that she had talked more about Hunter's drug addiction, completely not claiming her granddaughter.
Yeah, there's a basket full of stuff there.
There is a basket full of stuff that doesn't necessarily make you think just a whole lot about her. Richard, what are your thoughts on Nick Saban on Capitol Hill?
He looks like he's running for office.
Sanctimonious kind of comes to mind. Good for thee, not for me is another one that pops up. Full-on hypocrite. Look, Nick Saban was a phenomenal football coach. And he was phenomenal because of his discipline and his commitment to a system and doing things the same way over and over and over. But Nick Saban won at two places where you're supposed to win, and you have all the tools at your disposal to win.
Hey, thank you for saying that. Thank you.
He just won a little bit at Michigan State. It was okay. He was unsuccessful in the NFL. He won a national championship at LSU, which is a place where you have every tool at your disposal. Had a conversation at SEC Media Days years ago with Gene Stallings. Great man. Been the coach at Texas A&M at Alabama. I said, hey, if you had to go back and do it one more time, if you could go back and do it one more time, would you take the job at A&M again or would you take the job at Alabama again? And he kind of paused. And there was almost a little twinkle in his eye, and he kind of had a little sideways grin. He goes, man, there's just something about being able to win at Alabama. All the tools. Nick Saban did not endure the same scrutiny from the NCAA that other coaches at other places endure. He didn't. Nick Saban operated the way that he wanted to operate. And he did so with pretty much almost like immunity. And now he wants to lecture others on how sports is broken. He didn't have a problem with the old system when it was an under-the-table system. But now that it's above board and it opens the door for non-traditional powers to compete in college football, oh, the system is broken. We've got a problem. We got to fix this. It's a race to the bottom. Okay.
Yeah, it seems to be pretty healthy, though. I mean, the sport.
It's also interesting to me how he picks which of his former disciples he praises and does the heavy lifting for, and which ones he doesn't really acknowledge.
Who's his bestie out of the group?
Well, I mean, I would say he probably has the most respect for Kirby. Kirby certainly learned how from Nick. But, man, the water that he totes for Lane Kiffin is incredible. Mm-hmm. Especially considering the way I don't know if he feels like a fatherly something, if it's because of the respect that he had for Monty Kiffin that he treats Lane the way that he does and covers for Lane the way that he does. Oh, here we go. Richard wouldn't have these thoughts if Ole Miss hadn't caught a stray. Man, you just don't know me very well, if that's what you think. It's just not true. Yes, I thought it was ridiculous that Ole Miss caught a stray yesterday. I'll admit that in a second. But if you don't see, I mean, I guess if I was an Alabama fan, I wouldn't have those thoughts. I mean, the man walks on water. He can do no wrong. If you're an Alabama fan. But the idea that I couldn't look at what he said yesterday if I was a fan of Iowa or Missouri or South Carolina and see the sanctimony and the hypocrisy in what he said sitting there before Congress yesterday is just silly. If I was a Mississippi State fan, couldn't see the hypocrisy in what he said yesterday? Come on. He called out Ole Miss for public sins. You know he knows other schools have unpublished issues that he isn't harping on. Of course, it's easy. It's really easy. Because in his mind, Ole Miss is a Johnny-come-lately that doesn't deserve to be there. Ole Miss is operating in a space that's reserved for Alabama and Ohio State and Texas and LSU, Michigan, Penn State, Southern Cal. Ole Miss isn't supposed to. Ole Miss is supposed to know its place. And if it were Mississippi State that had the success that Ole Miss had and was dealing with the issues that Ole Miss would have, Mississippi State's the one that would be in Nick Saban's crosshairs, not Ole Miss. I think 14 and 15 really bothered Nick Saban.
Yeah. I mean, getting your butt kicked twice.
If you think that cat doesn't have a long memory.
He's like an elephant.
Yeah.
And little Ole Miss is the mouse he's scared of. You know, I love it. I love it. Keep it up, Nick, please. Keep talking.
Yeah. All right. This, we don't have enough time to do this right now, so I'll just kind of lay the groundwork for it and we'll come back to it. I posted something on X last night, which I don't do a whole lot of. This is a good one, too. Everyone says Ole Miss is due for regression. Anyway, your time with the big boys is over. Okay.
Hey, keep wishing.
We'll see, Coach. Good news is they're going to play 12 of them this fall, and we'll see how it plays out. Maybe you're right. Maybe Ole Miss goes 5-7 and hopes that they have a good enough APR to get into a bowl game.
It takes a lot of effort to root against somebody, you know.
I don't think that's going to be the case.
I love it when people spend so much effort rooting against others.
Yeah.
Bring it on, man. This is an old athlete talking. I love it. Competition is great.
The thing that I posted last night generated a lot of feedback. I don't know if you saw this or not, but DraftKings, if you happen to be watching any of the NBA Finals or the Stanley Cup, you probably saw their commercials. DraftKings now available nationwide. Hold on a second. That's not possible. We don't have online sports betting in Mississippi. It can't be nationwide. They don't have online sports betting in Alabama. It can't be nationwide. You thought DraftKings was just going to sit back and watch Kalshi take over the prediction market world? DraftKings has launched what they call a super app, in which they have their traditional online betting app side by side with prediction markets. That is the way around the online sports betting. And in Mississippi, we have said, nope, not going to have online sports betting, and have missed out on tens of millions of dollars in tax revenue for the state of Mississippi as a result. What does that look like now? Looks like an opportunity missed. Now, the counter to that I got on X last night was a lot of people talking about, no, we don't need gambling, we don't need betting. Promise, we'll come back to this story later in the show this morning. Commissioner of Public Safety Sean Tindell going to join us next. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Good morning from the...
Want to know what's happening in Mississippi politics?
Yes.
You're in the right place. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Back with you on Mornings. Thanks for being with us. Show's presented by Community Bank, online at communitybank.net. This hour of Mornings and every day, the 7 o'clock hour, is presented by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you're not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services plus a custom plan that fits you. Give them a call today, 601-206-7966, or go to mwgemployerservices.com. Welcome in our first guest this morning, Commissioner of the Department of Public Safety, Sean Tindell. He joins us in studio. You know, when you hit a milestone in life, you have this these two disparate thoughts. One, it feels like it happened in the blink of an eye, and two, it feels like this has been forever. I'm wondering, Mr. Commissioner, if you find yourself in that spot. 6 years as Commissioner of DPS. Is it a combination of those two feelings?
Absolutely. And when I first took the job, I remember meeting with Governor Reeves, and I'd been there about 2-3 months, and he said it's the kind of place where the days are long and the months are short, and that's what it feels like. You know, it flies by, but you have long days, but you turn around, it's like, oh my gosh, it's been a month, it's been 2, it's been 6 years. So it has been quite a journey, and something that I've look back on with a great deal of fondness, trying to do the things that we've done and being a part of really one of the most storied agencies in state government in the state of Mississippi, founded in 1938. It is quite a place.
Is this one of those jobs where leadership has a shelf life. Obviously, it's an appointed position, and you serve at the will and pleasure of the governor. But given the stress probably that goes along with being Commissioner of Public Safety, is there a finite amount of time that somebody can do this job and feel good about the way they're doing it on an ongoing basis?
I think so. I mean, I've been in this position now 6 years. I'm the third longest serving commissioner in the agency's history. The average tenure of a commissioner of public safety is right at 3 years. So it is a job that requires a lot. And I think when you look at how long most commissioners stay, it's short because of the stress. You don't see like you do in some places bureaucrats that stay for 15, 20, 30 years. In power, there's a lot going on, and commissioners come and go, and I knew that coming in, so we felt like we had to make a great impact and try to move things forward, and so that's what we did when we got there. I was reading a great analysis from all the debacle that we saw over the weekend with CBS, and the manager said that if he had hired an insider to run 60 Minutes, then nothing would have changed. The insiders would continue to do what they do, and I knew coming from the outside that the governor wanted me to be a voice for change at the agency, and that's what we tried to accomplish.
What's the longest tenure for a commissioner?
The first, Colonel Birdsong. He came on in 1938 and actually had 3 different stints as commissioner and served for about a total of 17 years.
Wow.
So if you take him out of the equation, it's probably about a 2-year average.
You got 17 years in you?
No.
When you look back over the last 6 years, and obviously expect to have a couple of years remaining at least in your tenure, what are you most proud of?
That's a big question. There were so many things when we got there that we needed to tackle. I think about the families that were left with unanswered questions with autopsy reports. I mean, in 2020, we had autopsy reports that had not been completed going all the way back to 2010. The fact that we got the entirety of that backlog turned around, and that Dr. Stacy Turner at the medical examiner's office and our team did a great job of not only getting rid of that backlog, but now making sure that we run about 90 days on getting autopsy reports turned around. I think that is tremendous because it brings justice to the families that have been victims of crimes. It holds criminals accountable, and it provides answers. And so that's critically important. I think about driver services. How much time people were spending waiting at a driver service station. Average wait time was 3 hours, and now we're down to about 15 minutes. That's tremendous. Saves Mississippians a lot of time. They don't have to take off the entire day of work to go to a driver service station and get their credentials renewed. And then I think what I'm most proud of, though, is I have tried my best, and I met with the sheriffs yesterday to be an advocate for law enforcement, to support first responders in our state. I've managed to go to the legislature and fight for and ask for an increase in death benefits. We've had record salary increases for our troopers. It's still not enough, trying to get those salaries up. And so and really just trying to bring some different thoughts and mindsets to law enforcement, and trying to support them every way I could.
With a teenage driver now, I've had a couple of recent experiences with driver services. I'm curious if there was some sort of directive at some point along the way, like, hey, let's be nice. Let's be nice to the people. In addition to the fact of we want to get them in and out as quickly as possible, it feels like that was a place where people were generally grumpy. And I didn't get that impression the last couple of times that I was there. I was there.
Yeah, and look, the environment was hostile. I mean, it was 3-hour waits. The customers were frustrated. The employees were frustrated. And I'll say one of the directions the legislature went was we knew we needed more state troopers on our roads. Since 1938, they had also been tied into the Driver Services Bureau. So the legislature said, we want the troopers on the road, and we want Driver Service Bureau to operate independently of the Highway Patrol. And in doing that, it gave all the employees there a pathway to move up in promotions and have a future there. And then we also were able to systematically come in working with the Highway Patrol in the beginning and say, hey, what can we do to fix the administrative processes at driver services so we can get people in and out. And that resulted in the appointment system. It resulted in an expansion of mobile ID, more services online. And what we have found is, and then we also put a focus on customer service. We want you to smile. We do training, just like you would if you owned a Wendy's or a fast food restaurant. You kind of focus on those types of things if you want your restaurant to be successful. And so we brought those business principles in our training. And the result is, I think, when people come in, the employees are in a better mood because the customers aren't mad. And we're putting a smile on our face and try to have that can-do attitude.
You mentioned the state medical examiner's office a second ago. Previously, there was just one, right? There was just the one in Jackson? Or is that not right?
No, that's right. We had one in Pearl, or in Jackson and Pearl. And then they opened one on the coast, I think, in about 2012. We didn't have a doctor there until about 2019. 2019. And so now we have that one. I'm proud of that we're opening one in Oxford. So we're about to bring a medical examiner's office on in Oxford. So we'll have 3 in the state, one in North Mississippi, Central Mississippi, and South Mississippi. And that's a great asset for the law enforcement and the people of North Mississippi so that when there is a murder or a homicide, they're not having to bring that body, that victim, all the way down to Jackson for that autopsy. They'll be able to do it there in Oxford, then they'll be able to get it back to the funeral home so that the family can start that closure process.
So the biggest result of that is just timeliness?
Absolutely. And on investigations, also these doctors have to testify in the criminal trials. And so if they're having to come all the way from Jackson to go up to Itawamba or DeSoto County, that's taking them out of the lab. They're spending 3 to 4 hours on the road, getting there, 3 to 4 hours getting back. That's autopsies that aren't getting completed when they're gone. Now, with a central location in Oxford, that's less time that they're out on the road when they have to go testify.
You just finished graduation, if I'm not mistaken, for the most recent trooper school class, right?
We actually graduate tomorrow, class 70. I think we have 54 or 53 cadets that are graduating tomorrow, so really proud of that. Every year we've been there. That's another thing that I'm very proud of. We have had a trooper school graduate every year of Governor Reeves' administration. That hasn't happened since the 90s when Governor Fordyce was in office. And so we're really proud that we're able to do that, and our plan is to keep doing that through his administration.
You've talked to me a little bit about some of the requirements for trooper school. Navy SEALs has an incredibly high fallout rate for people that go through BUD/S. They tap out. They say, this isn't for me. Isn't that the case with trooper school also? Maybe not at the same percentage or the same level, but a lot of people realize as they're going through that, hey, this isn't for me for one reason or another.
That's right. And we started off with about 700 applicants that applied to go to trooper school. It was narrowed down through our process of meetings and background checks and polygraph exams, ultimately, and testing all the way down to starting with about 90, and now we're down to 54. So about 40% to 50% dropout. Sometimes it's more than that. And so what we've tried to do in trooper school is, one, to keep that physical standard up there that is expected, the training in that area, but also we've tried to expand our academics, more con law, more specific things when it comes to report writing. And so we've tried to make it a little more of a educational experience as well at trooper school.
Sean Tindell is my guest, Commissioner of the Mississippi Department of Public Safety. Just last week, I think it was, a major public safety summit happened in Jackson. We'll talk with the Commissioner about that, who was there, what they accomplished, and what that might look like going forward. We'll continue after this. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. Sean Tindell is my guest.
From the Seabrook. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi. Welcome to the show.
Back with you, Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. Commissioner Sean Tindell is my guest. He runs the Mississippi Department of Public Safety. And I mentioned before the break that last week there was a public safety summit that happened in the Jackson metro area. Flowood, I think, at the Sheraton, right?
That's right. That's right. Fourth annual summit that we've hosted with the Attorney General's office. It was something coming into DPS. I went and I would go to the sheriff's conference. I'd go to the police chief's conference. We'd go visit with the constables. We'd go visit with the DAs at their conference. But there was never an event that tried to bring all the first responders together at one public safety summit to hear from leaders and different speakers. And so the general and I were talking about it, and hey, why don't we pull this event together and try to get all the public safety officials in our state into one room in a little bit of a different training aspect. When you go to the sheriff's conference, the chief's conference, they're getting update from legislators on new laws. They're getting their hours in for their training. And we really wanted to focus on things that impact first responders directly, whether it be, hey, how can you be a better leader in your organization? Hey, let's talk about mental health in your organizations. Let's talk about trends across the country when it comes to situations with active shooters and how better to respond. So in the process, we've brought in Navy SEALs, we've brought in world-renowned speakers. We had a guy this year that's a former firefighter, former police officer, former Marine, that was also suicidal at one point and really had a touching message to the first responders about how to deal with mental health and make sure that they keep they're not just their physical self in good shape, but their minds in good shape. So it really, hopefully, informative and stuff that these leaders can bring back to their departments. And we've made an emphasis not just to send our leaders, but also to bring some of our frontline troopers in and let them hear some of this, so that they can also think about their future and how to be better leaders as they go through their careers.
Law enforcement from across the spectrum, right? I mean, the groups that you mentioned locally, but also some national people coming in either as speakers or panelists? That's right.
The FBI normally hosts some of the speaking engagements. So, we have our federal partners there, state law enforcement, local law enforcement. We even have EMTs there. I mean, it's quite a broad spectrum of the first responder community that shows up.
We are, in Mississippi, a more conservative state than most. Some of our neighbors are like that as well. And I think that, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think generally speaking, that leads to more support for the law enforcement community here than maybe we see in other parts of the country. Do you feel that from your position? And maybe more importantly, do you think that local police officers, sheriff's deputies, first responders across the state feel the support from the general population in Mississippi as opposed to in some other places?
I think for the most part, certainly for the people. And I go back to 2020 when I came in, we were having protests across the country against law enforcement, and we had some here in Mississippi. But one of the things that you didn't see were any of the protests that got out of control, where people were breaking into buildings, burning them down. And so I think that is indicative of the work that our law enforcement officers do on a day in and day out basis in Mississippi, as well as the community support for their law enforcement. And so when those things happened, we had those protests. I actually saw law enforcement bringing water to the protesters. And I thought, how great is it that we live in a state where our law enforcement can protect their communities during those types of protests, but also stand there and protect the First Amendment rights of those protesters that are actually protesting law enforcement. And so that was really an eye-opening and proud moment for me to see the way our law enforcement interacted in those situations. And I think it's indicative of the quality of law enforcement officers we have and our community support for them. Now, that being said, we obviously have some issues, and one of the things that I'm also working on, and we have the Board of Law Enforcement Officer Standards and Training that is housed at the Department of Public Safety, and that board has been very proactive in making sure that if we have law enforcement officers that aren't doing what they're supposed to, that their certificates are getting revoked. And the worst thing for a good law enforcement officer is a bad one, and so we're trying to make sure that we get rid of those that are not doing the job the way they're supposed to.
Sean Tindell is my guest. He is the Commissioner of the Department of Public Safety. Just celebrated or is celebrating this week 6 years in that office. I asked you earlier about accomplishments that you're pleased with or you're proud of. I think in every leadership position, if you look back, there are probably some things that you would like a do-over on, or maybe you would handle a situation differently. Is there anything that stands out that you've learned in the last 6 years that would inform how you make a decision or how you handle a situation going forward, as opposed to how you handled it in real time?
I think there are. Certainly running into a situation like this where all of a sudden you have 1,500 employees, I need to do things better, making sure that those around me get the accolades and pats on the back and things of that. I'm probably not always the quickest to do that, but, again, I'm the son of a Vietnam veteran, and my grandparents were both World War II veterans, and my stepdad was as well. And so, there just wasn't a lot of hugs in our house. And so I'm probably not the best sometimes at letting those around me know how much I appreciate them. And so I've tried to get better at that. One of the things that I've learned is the importance of, if you have a vision for something, working with those early on that it will impact and getting their buy-in, and it'll help you get that across the finish line if you're able to work with those that it impacts the most early instead of just throwing it on them. And so I've tried to do better in communicating my vision on things ahead of time so that we don't run into as many roadblocks. And I find that when we do that and we start getting that buy-in and we can collectively work on ideas together, that the end product is usually better than just one person trying to make the decision.
Last time we visited, the new smell was still on the new building, like that. You had the new car smell and the new headquarters. A couple of months in terms of being settled, and one of the things that you talked to us about was how much more efficient that should make the agency. What have you seen so far?
That new smell's still there, number one, and it's beautiful, especially after being in the building we were in for so long. It was in really, really, really bad shape. But no, that's still there. July 1st, the consolidation plan that we had, that the legislature passed, where we have 11 divisions now. It'll be brought down to 4 units. We'll have a uniform division in which our Highway Patrol, Capitol Police, and CTEB will operate. All of them will keep their identities, but when it comes to buying guns, when it comes to buying cars, we'll be able to do it on a bulk basis. When it comes to buying software, when it comes to sharing intelligence, we'll be able to do that better. Same thing over at NBI. MBN, NBI, Homeland Security, and the Forensics Lab will start operating underneath one unit, and they'll each have their separate functions, but again, sharing intelligence, sharing information. We found where NBI was spending $50,000 on software, then NBN was also spending $50,000 on the same software, and if we just bought it once, it would have been effective for all those divisions. So hopefully we'll see that cost savings that we can push to the front line. But also, and most importantly for Mississippi, it makes us safer in Mississippi because now our intel analysts are going to be working together. NBN is going to be sharing information with NBI that wasn't getting shared before. And that's really where the consolidation it comes in. And it also will save on some of those administrative costs. And look, I'm a conservative by nature. I think we need to not only consolidate at my agency, I think across the state we could use some consolidation, whether we're talking about school districts, whether we're talking about municipalities. I mean, my gosh, I was able to travel and go to 82 counties in 82 days, and I was just shocked at the number of layers of government that we have throughout Mississippi.
You mentioned purchasing guns. Is there a standard firearm issue across all law enforcement?
No, there are obviously some very popular ones. Mississippi, you see a lot of departments with SIGs. You see most with Glocks, and so there's not a standard. It's up to each department to decide. I actually met with a sheriff that's still carrying his revolver, so I was
really
impressed by that. Yes.
How about that? 9 millimeters.
9 millimeters is a very popular round. Now, the sheriff had his revolver, and it was clearly a 44 mag, so nobody was going to mess with him.
It's the long arm of the law right there.
8-inch barrel. Let's go.
Last thing for you. You got a minute left. In terms of vision over the next year or two, what is left that is at the top of your priority list?
This consolidation effort's a very big thing. Trying to get all that done, and so I want to leave it in a good place to where those divisions are operating well. and that there's no real problems for whoever comes after me. But probably the most important thing, biggest regret I have is last year I was not successful in lobbying the legislature for a pay increase for our state troopers. We are the lowest paid in the country, I believe. And so I will go back and fight for that again and again and again, trying to get that salary up to a better number for them. And I think that needs to be law enforcement across the board. I've visited a lot of these cities. Cleveland, Mississippi is always my example. Starting salary there is $61,000. They have 47 full-time law enforcement officers in a town of about 12,000. And when I visited, they hadn't had a homicide in 18 months.
Wow.
So when we talk about our community supporting law enforcement, that's one thing. But we also need to make sure they're getting paid a livable wage that allows them to do the job to make our community safe.
Makes it a little more attractive for people coming into that profession as well. That's so incredibly important. Commissioner, thank you for your time this morning. Congratulations on 6 years and continued success.
Thank you. Always enjoy being here.
Thank you. Commissioner Sean Tindell with the Mississippi Department of Public Safety. We're back with you after this.
Good morning from the Venable.
Find out what's happening across your state. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Once again, good morning to you. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm and SuperTalk TV. Saw a clip yesterday, and I want to play it for you here in just a second. Interestingly enough, the person asking the questions in the clip is a former news journalist that was at the Today Show and left to go to Nightly News and then found not to be effective and was pushed out. Is it possible that it works that way sometimes? That if you don't do things the right way, or if you're not delivering from a ratings standpoint or a sales standpoint, that you lose your job? I don't know. Interesting, given the conversation around Scott Pelley, which I want us to return to in just a little bit. Yesterday was a fascinating day in terms of statements. Katie Couric, on her podcast / video stream program called Next Question with Katie Couric, had a guest. And this is a guest that is not being talked about a whole lot right now. When you hear about Democrats and what 2028 may look like them on the presidential ticket, this is not a name that is coming up a lot other than in some smart circles. And it is a name that Republicans, I think, should be concerned about. What are the names you're hearing? You're hearing Kamala Harris. They're gonna run her out again. Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania. Gavin Newsom and others. Those are not names that strike any fear in Republicans. And I don't know that they should. But Rahm Emanuel is a name that, if you are a Republican, should concern you when it comes to the 2028 presidential ticket for Democrats. Do not be swayed into thinking that Rahm Emanuel is some middle-of-the-road politician. He was Barack Obama's architect, along with some others, but he carried an immense amount of power. And he talks in a way where he makes you think it's all common sense, but if you listen closely, his beliefs are similar and in line with that of where the Democratic Party is. He just thinks that the Democrat Party has lost the plot. Take him to listen to this, posted yesterday. I'm not sure exactly when the interview happened. Katie Couric with Rahm Emanuel.
Polls show Democrats aren't doing that well.
We got the voters right where we want them.
You know, why do you think people feel so negatively about the Democratic Party?
Because we earned their disrespect the hard way. Look, when your back's against the wall, you can't make a mortgage payment. You can't go to the doctor's visit because you can't afford it, or you're stealing money out of your 401k that you know is for your retirement, but you're doing it to pay your bills today. You expect the Democratic Party to show up. Two things. We told you, oh, things are great. You just don't know it yet. And B, we're running around, close schools for 2 years when you didn't have to, and then when we open them, we blow open the bathroom door in the locker room, and we didn't actually worry about the classroom. We earned their anger because when they're holding on to that windowsill with everything they got, they're digging their nails into the concrete on the windowsill or the wood. They want us to help them, and we either told them they were wrong, or B, we got ourselves wrapped around what I call a cultural cul-de-sac and kept going around in a circle talking to ourselves. This isn't that hard. Now, in 2016, I was mayor. I signed a bill a decade ago on bathroom access. Never took my eye off of the graduation rates, reading scores, or math scores. I did it. It's acceptance. But we went as a party from acceptance to advocacy. That's not our role.
You mean on trans rights?
On trans issues. So my thing is, when you say, well, how did we get here? We worked really hard at it. We did things that were really ridiculous. We let a border get out of control. When it came to public safety, we talked about defunding the police. When it came to an ethnic group, we called them Latinx, and nobody else in that group ever identified themselves that way. And then rather than worry about classroom excellence, we were worried about bathroom and locker room access.
All right, that's part of Katie Couric with Rahm Emanuel. You have to listen closely to what he says there. He is saying the things that can win a Democrat an election. Now, his belief, and he very subtly points out there, hey, look, I was mayor of Chicago, and I signed a bill off that gave access to trans, bathrooms. And he says it's about access, not advocacy. But you know what Rahm Emanuel knows? He knows what wins elections, and it's not talking about trans rights, and it's not talking about girls and boys sports and dying on that stuff. He may believe in those things and in a position of power act on allowing those things, but he's not going to let that be a focus during an election. He's going to be on the Democrat ticket. Wait and see.
The White House to your hometown. This is where you find out what's happening. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Great to be with you. Mornings with Richard Cross. We roll into the 8 o'clock hour on this Thursday, the 4th of June, and we remind you that Mornings is presented every day by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net. The C Spire text line is always open to you, 601-879-4395. The one plan from C Spire is here, fiber home internet and wireless, only $99 a month for new and current C Spire customers. One plan, one price, one experience, zero compromise. Get started now at cspire.com/one plan. C Spire, customer inspired. Speaking of C Spire, joining us right now this morning is Alan Jones, who is the Chief Network Officer at C Spire. Alan, I appreciate some of your time this morning. Good to see you. We got Alan? Uh-oh, we lost him there. I think I hear you. Do you hear me?
We were good a minute ago. I'm going to flip it around.
All right, we'll see if we can get this
connection there
squared away with Alan. If you were with us on Monday morning this week, you heard J.T. Mitchell, when he came in, talk about the fact that starting on June 1st, we roll officially into hurricane season. And this is the time for hurricane preparedness. And when you have a company like C Spire, I just told you about the one plan, about fiber and wireless. There are networks that have to stay up, especially in disasters. Alan, good morning.
Good morning, Richard. How are you doing this morning?
Doing well. I appreciate some of your time this morning as we jump in. Chief Network Officer, which means I think it is your job to make sure that everything stays up and online, but you got a big team behind you helping you make that happen.
I've got an awesome team making that happen. They are spread all over. They're ready to go and ready to make sure that our networks, fiber and wireless, are running and in tip-top shape all the time.
We generally don't equate hurricanes with June and early July. That's something that we tend to think of more in August and September and maybe even into October. But officially, hurricane season has begun. What do the preparations look like internally as you go into, about a 6-month period where tropical storms, hurricanes could be an issue for Mississippi?
Sure. So, one of the biggest things we do is we practice, just like a sports team or anything else. We'll run exercises where we do simulated hurricanes with simulated paths, look at how we properly dispatch, how we keep our everything running, and then we'll throw curveballs at each other. Hey, what happens if it moves this way? What happens if we lose power at this facility? So we actually simulate that and go through and kind of do a real-time practice so that in the event when you're kind of, boots on the ground, some of that becomes muscle memory as opposed to trying to figure it out on the fly.
What is the balance of preemptive staging where you're kind of always ready versus you get into a crunch time? You're days away from a storm that clearly is going to make landfall, and then you do kind of some proactive staging to get ready for a specific event.
Mm-hmm. So, that comes out of that practice. One of the things we do is, first off, we're continually monitoring and doing preventative maintenance on things like generators, batteries, making sure that our facilities are in order and, organized and ready to go. That happens really throughout the year. But then at the beginning of hurricane season, we kind of take an extra deep dive, make an additional round, do an additional round of battery tests, do an additional round of generator checks, those types of things. Those are the key pre-staging type areas that we do. We make sure that all of our CALs and COLTs, our temporary facilities are ready to roll. They're ready to go. Nothing's happened to them while they were, in a stored state or in between. For us, like we had a Mardi Gras deployment not long ago, making sure that it's ready to go and reserviced after the Mardi Gras deployments, those type of things.
How big is the team that kind of is in the emergency response group? Or do you reposition people who work in other areas of C Spire if you get into a situation where there's a disaster that requires response?
So it is. When we get into a disaster recovery scenario, we actually rotate teams throughout from other areas from the northern parts of the state, away from the coast, because one of the things we have to do is make sure those team members are fresh and ready to go and they're safe throughout the entire time. So what we'll do is we'll make sure that we stage it so that we rotate team members in and out. We have guys that can come take over for a guy that's been working, because once something like this hits, once you're in disaster recovery mode, it is not it's never an 8 to 5 job in network operations, but it's certainly not when it's disaster recovery. You're running a 24-hour operation constantly.
Alan, I'm curious. So C Spire has invested literally billions of dollars into fiber networks. It's incredible the way that the company has evolved from a wireless provider to kind of a multi-pronged platform where there are business services and you've got the fiber network, but also still the wireless network as well. How has the implementation of the fiber network changed, either for the good or for the bad, response time with disaster recovery? Are you able to get back online faster because so much of that fiber is underground and you've kind of gone to the expense of burying that along the way?
Absolutely. So it's one of the biggest pieces there is just that resiliency. You mentioned it. We've built fiber. We've built that fiber underground, so we're not susceptible to power lines that get torn down in storms, that kind of thing. When you're looking at the Mississippi coast, we're in a really good spot there. The other thing is we can control it, right? So we're not depending on someone else to come restore if there is something like a fiber cut or something like that. We set our priority, and we set the priority to make sure that our network and our customers as a whole are taken care of. And that really gives us a lot of flexibility and really a lot more resiliency to stay up and to make the right decisions in order to impact our network as a whole and not just one piece of it. So we really keep a view that fiber and wireless, you mentioned the one plan, fiber and wireless are one. Yeah. They work in harmony together, and that holds true in network operations too.
So I'm asking a question here that I have no idea about, and I don't even know if I'm asking the right question. We operate in the radio space, and radio has traditionally worked on towers and wireless signals and pointing out and getting that, and that hasn't changed entirely. But the way we operate is fiber-based, connecting our network studios to all of our affiliate studios across the state of Mississippi. With cellular towers, has the fiber network changed the way cellular towers operate?
Absolutely. I would say the biggest thing it's brought is, when we started quite some time ago, we won't talk about how long I've been in this industry, but when we started back, we were doing everything was there was no such thing as apps and video streaming from your phone and those kind of things. Those wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for fiber at the bottom of every single one of those towers. Mm. That's what really brings us a lot of the new apps, the new speeds, and it brings us more resiliency. I talked about the underground, but when there was not fiber at the towers, you were often stranded at towers out on just a single leg. Most of the time now, you've got fiber running both directions out of that tower. So if you lose connectivity on one side, you've got it on the other. So it really brings fiber really is that backbone and that engine that really helps the wireless network too.
Alan Jones, Senior Vice President. He's the Chief Network Officer at C Spire. How long have you been at C Spire? I'm not trying to age you. I'm just to inform a question.
I've been at C Spire now for about 16 years. I've been in Mississippi for last 14 years.
Well, and so you weren't quite there then. I was curious the experience of Hurricane Katrina and how that has informed disaster response. Even if you weren't there, I'm assuming the lessons learned there have informed a lot of the decisions that C Spire continues to make.
It does, and it's really still part of our culture. I've got a ton of team members that were still here that are boots on the ground during Katrina. We take a lot of lessons learned through storms like Katrina. I had all of those storms that have happened in the past, and we roll them forward. When we talk about going through and looking and saying, okay, knowing the people in the area, knowing that this area was impacted more when the storm took a job to the east or the west. Those are all lessons from Katrina and back that we continue to roll forward. Even as, recent as the winter storms that we had in North Mississippi this year, there were lessons learned in that. And every time we go through one of these storms, we continue to kind of add to our playbook to say, okay, what could we have done better last time? What are we going to do better next time? And then I think it evolves not just within the network, but for us as a company, we start looking at, what were our network needs, but then we pull in and say, what were the community needs? During Katrina, we had a lot.
From the Venable
Right. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Back with you. It is Mornings with Richard Cross. My thanks to Alan Jones, Chief Network Officer with C Spire, talking to us a little bit about the preparation and the lessons learned at C Spire through the years as we move into hurricane season. Last year was pretty quiet in terms of the major storm front, the hurricane front, but hopefully that will be the case again. That certainly is the hope. There is an incredible amount of reaction that we have seen about the firing of Scott Pelley at CBS. Most of the reactions are divided along partisan lines. Generally speaking, people on the left, oh, the horror! Scott Pelley was fired. Barry Weiss is the devil. The new executive producer at 60 Minutes doesn't know his head from a hole in the ground. And most of the right has been like, good riddance. That sanctimonious, pompous, arrogant, spin the facts jerk needs to be out. To me, the group, though, not being super reactionary one way or the other, that has taken a more pragmatic approach to the firing of Scott Pelley is the group that seems, in my mind at least, to have it right. And that's the group that goes, I don't really care that much about his on-air product. Yes, he was left-leaning despite his claims to the contrary. The pragmatic part of this is you are an employee of a country, of a company, not of a country, of a company. And that company has a leadership structure in place, which means you have a boss. And in a place that's as big as CBS, you have multiple bosses. You are not actually the boss. And there's this false sense of security at times that exists when you are a quote-unquote star that makes it appear as if you play by a different set of rules. Or that rules actually don't exist for you. And I think we've got a lot of examples that that's just not true. I was thinking about a sports example. Forgive me for that, because it's just where a lot of my life history lies. And I think about the Chicago Bulls. Remember the Chicago Bulls when they won 3 championships in a row and then Michael Jordan took a break? And then they won 3 more championships after he came back? There was a documentary about it called The Last Dance. You may have watched that during the COVID year. It was like the sports content that we got in July or so of that year before things started coming back, and just massive ratings. But at the end of that time, Jerry Reinsdorf and Phil Jackson were not on the same page. And it is Jerry Reinsdorf who was the owner of the Bulls, right? Just making sure I've got that right. Yeah, chairman of the Chicago Bulls and the owner of that. He was probably not bringing Phil Jackson back, and that team was about to fall apart. And it felt like there was a power play there where Phil Jackson could push and push and push, but ultimately the owner was the boss, and the boss made the decisions. And in the case of CBS, which is now owned by Paramount, David Ellison is the owner, son of Larry Ellison, who's one of the 10 richest people on the planet. And they went through this merger, and he has brought in his people Barry Weiss to run the CBS News division. And Scott Pelley fancied himself a star, kind of the lead voice now at 60 Minutes, and could say and do whatever he wanted. And he was very angry that some of his colleagues had been let go in recent weeks. And he was going to, by golly, draw a line in the sand, and he wasn't going to stand for it anymore. And he acted out, and he got called out on it, and then he got fired. These are times in which, the phrase, I'm trying to figure out how to clean it up for radio. The don't whiz on my head and try to convince me that it's raining. Scott Pelley wants to stand on the podium and bang his fist and talk about journalistic integrity and freedom of speech and standing for what is right. What we are seeing in some corners of the media sphere is actually a pushback and a market correction. Mainstream media has gone so far to the left that if you push back on the idea of what they are saying or what they are presenting or the slant that is going along with the quote-unquote news, now you're anti-free speech. When in reality, some of the changes that are happening in major news networks is a pull back more to the middle. It's not going far to the right. And they want to make Donald Trump the boogeyman because he's the easy boogeyman for everything that you come along with. I was trying to decide which clip to play. You've got Scott Pelley with a montage of his slant on the news. But maybe the best example is Scott Pelley as a commencement speaker at Wake Forest. And him describing in no uncertain terms the pure evil that exists with Donald Trump as the president.
This morning, our sacred rule of law is under attack. Journalism is under attack. Universities are under attack. Freedom of speech is under attack. And insidious fear is reaching through our schools, our businesses, our homes, and into our private thoughts. The fear to speak in America. Power can rewrite history with grotesque, false narratives. They can make criminals heroes and heroes criminals. Power can change the definition of the words we use to describe reality.
Dripping with self-importance. Sanctimonious. Go back to the beginning of that, where he's talking about what's going on in schools and whatever. It's not the way he describes it. It's a return to normal. It's a return to the mean. It's a left that has gone so far to the left in its entire belief system and its entire political leanings and policies that go with it, that everyday Americans, and I'm not just talking about conservatives or Republicans, I'm talking about the middle, which would be the moderate piece of the Democrat Party and the moderate piece of the Republican Party, has said enough. Stop cramming everything down our throats that we don't want. Scott Pelley can't see that, though. It's bad news criminal, or bad news Trump. Boogeyman Trump. I want to go back to the Rahm Emanuel conversation just for a second when we get back. I think that deserves a little bit more fleshing out, and kind of all of this ties together. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk Mississippi, presented by Community Bank. We're back after this.
Good morning, everybody. Time to wake up. Time to shine! Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Sweet Jane. Oh, sweet, sweet Jane. Waiting for Jimmy down in the alley. Waiting there for him to come back.
Glad to be with you this morning. The C Spire text line is open, 601-879-4395. Appreciate all of your messages and your interaction. We'll get to some of them, including this one from Mike, who is, if nothing, not superstitious. Mike in Oxford says, I texted last week when I got on the road to Lincoln, and that ended well. So here I am letting you know I'm on the road to Auburn.
That's an ex-baseball player right there with those kind of superstitions.
Go get him, Mike.
I love it. You don't change anything.
Mike became a bit of a star on television over the week.
Fantastic.
In his seats right behind home plate in Lincoln with his Ole Miss jersey and his Hawaiian-style shirts.
Oh, I remember him, yeah.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
Mike.
Hey, Mike, what's up, dude?
Professor at Ole Miss.
Yes, sir.
Lover of baseball.
I told you he was a baseball guy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey, one of the funny things about the comments you were just making regarding Pele, I mean, if you go look at just about anybody, I mean, McEnany, Jesse, all of them, there's like he blew it up. He blew the meeting up because he wanted to. Yeah, he felt like, most of them felt like it was on purpose. Like he knew something was coming, like he was potentially going to get fired again, and decided to go out with a bang. Yeah, and that's consensus from just about everybody that worked with him.
Yeah. Look, the message that he delivered at that Wake Forest commencement a year ago is, or maybe it was a couple of years ago, it's not necessarily germane to the conversation about why he was fired from 60 Minutes, but it just spits in the face of his journalistic integrity. We are above the fray. 60 Minutes is an institution. We're doing journalism that nobody else does. And then you listen to what he says. And he says, we are, in this moment, this very morning, under attack. The sacred rule of law is under attack. Or is law enforcement being given the ability to enforce the law for the first time? Journalism is under attack, Pele said.
It doesn't seem like
or is it just that some of the far left-leaning slant in the mainstream national media has finally been called out? Universities are under attack, he said. Or is it, for the first time, some of the policies of universities have been called into question, policies that were in name about diversity and inclusion, when in truth they were actually about exclusion and bringing people into schools and approving their applications based on race and other factors as opposed to qualifications. Freedom of speech is under attack, he said. Or is it we finally have gotten to a point where an attack on freedom of speech is just the inability for the left to silence its critics? Does it matter who the speech is coming from? And then he goes, insidious fear is reaching into our schools, our homes, and into our private thoughts, the fear to speak. Or is it that for the first time in a long time, people who are not in lockstep with what you, Scott Pelley, believe are actually not afraid to speak out with what they believe? Just food for thought.
Well, and also he was a big DEI supporter, right? I mean, wasn't that a moment where a lot of folks were getting canceled? Free speech was getting trampled upon, and he was sitting there championing it.
Of course he was.
So, it's easy to wear many hats when you have no morals.
I don't know what Scott Pelley's moral compass is.
Whatever you want it to be, if it keeps his job, maybe, and then maybe not. I mean, it seems to me like a lot of the folks that work with him are cheering his departure.
He did an interview with a couple of the mothers who were trying to stand up against the sexually explicit and, in some cases, pornographic books that were being used in schools, and just pushed back at every turn. And at one point in his, the way they do the interviews on 60 Minutes, ask a question, get part of an answer, and then there's like this voiceover while the answer is still going. And he said these women would take kernels of truth and exaggerate them to fit their narrative. Pot, meat, kettle? I mean, I used the phrase this morning. I don't like to overuse cliches, but good for thee, not for me, feels like it kind of is the right way to describe it as well. So let me go back to the Rahm Emanuel deal. I played that clip for you earlier this morning from an interview that he did recently with Katie Couric. I think, generally speaking, Republicans, conservatives, not concerned with Kamala Harris running again. In fact, thrilled with the idea that Kamala Harris would again run for the presidency, that she would get the Democratic nod. Not concerned with Gavin Newsom. He's not electable, not nationally. Josh Shapiro's more serious. But is the left going to support a Jew for president? I mean, think about that.
Well, he was too Jewish for the last run.
Yeah.
So they went with Tim Walz.
As a VP, so they went with Tim Walz and said, might have been one of the decisions that cost Kamala Harris the presidency.
Great move for the Republicans.
But look, here's the deal. Rahm Emanuel, chief of staff for the Obama White House, at least for a period of time. Was he there for the entire time?
That was 2 years, then he went and ran for mayor, right?
That's right. That's when he left. And
he was his campaign manager, or wasn't he his campaign manager through the campaign, and then he spent about 2 years there, I think.
He and David Axelrod and a couple of others were kind of the architects for Barack Obama and the campaign. And look, it was a campaign unlike any we have seen ever.
Oh, yeah, go listen to Rod Blagojevich tell you about it. That's some good stuff.
Yeah. But here's the thing with Rahm Emanuel. The reason that he's a great candidate. He is an exceptionally gifted speaker. He understands how to win elections. He understands what issues matter to voters and what issues win elections with voters. And I can guarantee you, with 100% certainty, if Rahm Emanuel is the Democrat candidate for president, and I think he will be at this point, those other candidates are not serious candidates, and the Democrats know they have to run someone who can win. And my prediction is, at this point, and we're still a long way from the 28 elections, that he's going to be campaigning against Marco Rubio as the Republican nominee for president. That's just what I think is going to happen. Who knows? I mean, that opinion could certainly change a lot between now and 2028. But you better believe that Rahm Emanuel is going to focus on the things that he said right there in that interview. Healthcare, the economy / making things more affordable, and better insurance benefits. And he's going to beat those and beat those and beat those and beat those and beat those. And you're not going to hear Rahm Emanuel talking about girls and boys sports. You're not going to hear him talking about access for transgender in restrooms. You're not going to hear him talking about the fringe 80-20 issues. You know, can a man get pregnant? He's not going to talk about it. Doesn't mean he doesn't believe or align with the left in those cases. In fact, if you really listen, he will tell you he does. But he knows those are not issues that win elections. He is an incredibly skilled and ruthless politician. He can win. And that should scare Republicans today. And if you look around, Rahm Emanuel is starting to make more media appearances, do more podcasts, pop up on some cable news shows. That is not an accident. It's a slow roll leading to the announcement of a campaign. Smart Democrats know that he is a guy that can win the presidency, and he should scare the crap out of you if you're Republicans, because he's ruthless, and he's vindictive, and he's smart, and he's eloquent. Back with you after this. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass.
Start your day right.
Good morning, America. How are you?
Honestly, I have no idea.
Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Thanks for joining us. Mornings with Richard Cross. One last time on this Thursday morning. Weekend just around the corner. Glad to have you along. You know, I told you about my flying to Texas. Flew out of Tupelo, and it was a great experience. And then I flew back into Memphis. You know what the problem with that is, Lance?
No.
When you fly out of one place and into another, there's a vehicle that has to be recovered.
They don't drive themselves to get you, huh?
Yeah, I do not have a Tesla that drives itself without anybody inside of it. I drive a Ford F-150 that I got from Belk Ford and Oxford Toyota. So when I landed in Memphis, I got a one-way rental car, and I came home and then went to Tupelo yesterday. And it was another truck, and it was a nice truck. It was a really nice truck. But I handed off the keys, and I felt so good when I got back into my truck.
Yeah.
You know I'm an F-150 fan. You know I'm an even bigger Belk Ford fan. Belk Ford is located on Highway 6 West in Oxford. If you want to start a search for a new vehicle or previously owned vehicle online, you can do that at belkford.net. Doesn't matter where you are in the state of Mississippi. When you know that it's time for a new vehicle for you, whether it's brand new or previously owned, reach out to the folks at Belk Ford. Whether you're on the coast or in the Pine Belt or in the Delta, or maybe you're listening in Texas. We had a listener a year ago, almost exactly a year ago, who was looking for a specific truck. He had to bring his son, who was staying in Oxford for the summer, had to bring a car to him. And he said, hey, I was planning on flying back. You think you could get me in touch with your friends at Belk Ford and I could just buy my new truck from them while I'm there? I was like, absolutely.
That's a great idea.
And you know what he did? He reached out to them, talked to them specifically about what he was looking, and they had a brand new Ford F-150 Raptor waiting for him. He dropped the car off with his son, visited for a day, picked up his vehicle, and drove it all the way back to Texas. And then told us about how spectacular the experience was after the fact. You can have that experience as well. Just reach out to them or stop by and see them. If you need me to help you get in touch with a salesperson at Belk Ford, I would be more than happy to do that. Just shoot me a message, and I will make it happen. Belk Ford, Oxford Toyota, Highway 6 West in Oxford. I talk all the time about how big numbers, especially when we're talking money, are almost impossible to understand. I throw them around all time as if I have some comprehension of how much $1 billion is, or even $100 million. But then we hear numbers that are just so mind-bogglingly silly that I don't think we have any comprehension of what they actually mean. The news of SpaceX IPO is now coming out. Preparations for the blockbuster initial public offering next week have been unconventional, like most things involving Elon Musk. Their pricing strategy for their stock offering is no exception. So when a company is getting ready to have an initial public offering, they have what is called a roadshow. It's where they go out and they tell about all the great things for their company to potential investors, institutional investors, big banks, and it's, this big dog and pony show, and they get feedback from the investors that they're talking about that help them on pricing strategy, and then kind of right before the IPO, they'll announce the price. Not SpaceX. They came out and they said, $135 a share. We're going to sell 555,555 shares of SpaceX at $135 a share.
A lot of fives in there, huh?
Raising close to $75 billion, targeting a valuation of SpaceX around $1.75 trillion. That valuation is on $18.7 billion in revenue in 2025. That means the valuation is priced at 93 times sales.
That sounds legit.
It does, until you recognize that Tesla had a price-to-sales ratio of almost 17%.
Oh, I was kidding, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that's way out of whack, man.
Yeah, way out of whack.
You're betting on the come line there.
And you know what? It's going to work. They're going to get it.
Oh, yeah, they'll nail that.
The merger values the combined company of SpaceX and XAI at $1.25 trillion, up from $800 billion in December, up from July of 2025 when it was valued at $400 billion. In 2022, $125 billion. 2 years before that, in 2020, it was just a $36 billion valuation. Now $1.25 trillion. Mind-boggling numbers. Hard for me to wrap my mind around those. Thanks for being with us this morning. Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. Bank Community. Bank Local. Or Bank Local, Bank Community. CommunityBank.net. Have a great day.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.